bring you your host. To my left, this beautiful lady with the blonde, strikingly blonde hair, brilliant, is Nellie Harrington. And she is a co-host and a much needed and well-deserving and great co-host. She does a great job with her new innovations into mental health and how to deal with trauma and worry and make you feel better. To my right is the great Denver Nobles, who is the director of the NAMI in Louisiana.
Yes, I'm the state representative at National in D.C. on the Consumer Council.
Yes, one of those big ones. And right next to that, Denver is the illustrious Richard Phelps.
Hey Bob,
hey
Denver.
Richard. Consumer, man of all seasons, computer guru, like me and Denver call him, and I'm guessing Nelly too. So anyway, we come to your homes tonight, and like we start off the show with prayer, and first of all, I would like to pray for the Bertrands. Toby Bertrand, a friend of mine, passed away a few weeks ago. If y'all from San Margo, y'all all know Toby. Toby was an admirable, really nice guy. Everybody liked him. He passed away. And we asked for prayers for his family, Lamar, Dylan, and his kids, Dylan, Dusty, and Dixie, and his wife Lamar, and also for Patsy Bertrand. Patsy is also beautiful inside and out, wonderful lady to meet. Like they say, the women of the old days were the best they had, and Patsy's one of the best, class act lady, and also her family, Debbie and Robin and Possum and Liz, and then also I'd like to say hello to Bryn. Hi Bryn, I heard you watched my show, so I hadn't talked to you in a while. I remember when you were a little girl, now you have 3 kids. I'm getting old, but I'd like to say hello, and I heard you got my book, so I hope you enjoy it. And of course, we ask for prayers for my friend Pete Delcom and Jerry the Plantis and his wife Carol. And Richard, you got some prayers?
I have 2 friends up in Washington State. They don't want their names used, but they're both dealing with some very severe continual stress and other issues with their families. They are reaching out to some NAMI resources up there as we speak, but they need some encouragement. And for a friend down in New Iberia that was traumatized through some events at the jail, there's some things going on that hopefully are going to get addressed down there, the way mental health inmates are being horribly mistreated.
Yes, and of course, during this show, of course, I'm a ham. I like, if y'all knew me back then when I was smoking 4 packs of cigarettes, very, very sorrowful and depressed all the time. Y'all would know why I am so adamant about expressing how well I'm doing by reading my books and everything, and what God, and it's all God, has done for me. But this is going to be a special program. That's why we have he was on last week to talk about when he went to the national meeting, and because of what happened last Thursday at the Grand Theater, which is horrible for Lafayette. Lafayette is a cool town. It's still a cool town, and it will always be a cool town. Yeah, I can see the people getting together and, getting closer together and everything. And I heard they're going to be having some vigilances at the churches and everything. And also, first of all, like we're doing prayer, I would like to ask y'all to pray for Macy Bro and Jillian Johnson. Those were the 2 girls that were killed in the shooting. And we're not going to go into the shooting tonight. We do thank our Lafayette Police Department and first responders. I've heard they've done an admirable job, and some wonderful, brave women two teachers that I heard about that should be honored too. But first of all, okay, tonight.
I wanted to interject something here before I forget. Anybody dealing with the police or EMT or fire department, tell them a thank you for what they've done, because they are under big time stress.
Yeah, yeah. And tonight, the lovely and beautiful inside and out, the smart girl too, Nellie Hankins is going to be talking about trauma. And we're going to start the show off with Denver, like I said earlier, went to the national convention in San Francisco with all the NAMI groups and the big wheels, and they probably had some congressmen and stuff out there.
Oh,
too.
yeah, man.
So we're going to let Denver start off.
Okay, well, in light of the fact of the incident on Thursday, what I'm trying to do is I want to continue to give you folks information. And Richard asked me a question last week I couldn't answer, so I'm going to answer it tonight. The NAMI national number, the toll-free number, is 1-800-950-6264. I did mention the warm line in Louisiana. It's from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. each day. It is 1-800-730-8375. I was trying to express about how easy it was to get in touch with NAMI, and so I found the resources about how easy it is for you to get to NAMI. You can get to NAMI on Facebook, facebook.com. official NAMI. You can go on Twitter at NAMI Communicate. You can go to YouTube at user NAMI videos. You can go to Tumblr, notalone.nami.org, or www.ok2talk.org or nami.org. So if you want to get connected, there's all of the different ones, so it shouldn't be that hard to find.
So NAMI.org, that's real easy to remember.
Yeah. One of the things that came out of the shooting, of course, was emergency department, seeking the treatment in the emergency department. Well, this is the statistics on people who might have some kind of mental health, psychiatric emergency or whatever, and there was a continuing thing that has come up through the national rank and file, and this is part of it. When people are at the hospital, do they get treated with respect? Only 4 out of 10 got that. The communications of what their concerns was, only 3 out of 10 gets that. They wanted them to sign a privacy release for the family, and in order for the family to be able to inform the people who are working with that patient in the emergency room, only 2 out of 10. This is some information about patients and families. My or my loved one's mental health condition and our mental health conditions in general, the families do not know. Only 21% of us with a diagnosis agree, 60% disagree. The medications given in the emergency department and some of their side effects, 15% of them agree that they work, 54% disagree. Where to get mental health services in the community and outpatient, 18% believe that they can get that help, but 65% disagree.
Wow.
These are big numbers. One of the things.
So you're saying the patients disagree with the treatment they're getting from the emergency hospital?
The higher number is the people who do not know anything about what's going on when that person is having their psychosis.
Okay.
The way that they like to rate the emergency rooms, of course, 2% believe that they had a good experience. They realize and they say the staff didn't treat them with respect. 78% of the people with a diagnosis said they had a bad experience. 3% of them, the staff didn't communicate effectively and listen to their concerns. 72% had a bad experience. 4%, the staff made me feel ashamed as a result of my mental illness. 71% of them had a bad experience. When 7%, when agitated, I was injected or restrained without consent, 68% of them had a bad experience. 10%, I waited over 10 hours to be seen by a mental health professional, 60% of them had a bad experience. I had mentioned in the show last week that the statistics now are 20% of the people have a mental health diagnosis, and that comes out to 1 in every 5 adults have an experience with mental health condition. 1 in every 5 children ages 13 to 18 have a serious mental health condition. When it comes to the community as a whole, we know that the cultural things that are in each community, we have a diverse community of different types of people and stuff, and so this is going to be the statistics about how it's set up as far as the diversity of the groups. 16.3% of Hispanic have a diagnosis, 19.3% of white people have a diagnosis, 18.6% black people have a diagnosis, 13.9% Asians have a diagnosis. And
what's the white people?
It's at 19.3. It's just right up under 20%. So 20% of most of the people who are Caucasians have a mental health.
But Denver, that's only to known statistics, right?
That's only the known statistics, exactly.
Yeah, of people that have been diagnosed.
Right.
So actually, ladies and gentlemen, it might even be more, you know. We don't know how many people are out there that are suffering from mental conditions that haven't been diagnosed, right?
Yeah, that's right. Okay, for people who are ages 18 to 25, 21.2% of them will have a mental health condition. People who are 26 to 49, 19.6% of them will have a mental health issue. 15.8% covers people who are 50 and above. So, you know, that's a lot of percentages. When you start breaking it down into each one of these groups and stuff that I've mentioned, that is the statistics that really point to how serious our mental health issue is. One of the things that I talked about last week, of course, was the veterans thing and FaithNet. And I'm going to go down through the list of programs and stuff and, you know, just kind of throw stuff out there to you as far as NAMI goes, because, you know, unless you have a diagnosis or you have a family member who may be computer savvy or who has the withal to really check out what's going on, NAMI pretty much has all the bases covered. NAMI Basics, that's the one I mentioned that is for teenagers, parents, sisters, and siblings and stuff. We also have the parents and teachers as allies, along with provider education. In other words, if there's a hospital in the area that has never had any kind of NAMI training or whatever, there is an actual course for those people. It's called NAMI Provider Education. Then, of course, Bob and Richard, they always mention our family-to-family support group. The NAMI In Our Own Voice presentation, I mentioned, that's the treatment, acceptance, dark days, coping skills, success, hopes, and dreams. It's a 15-minute video where a person with a diagnosis goes in and tells their personal story. NAMI Connection Support Group, that's our group. And also the 10-week education course called Peer to Peer. I mentioned that last week. That is also, I'm talking about, these are the programs that are there. NAMI Homefront. I don't know if I mentioned that, but that's the new one that is out there for the veterans. NAMI Homefront. HOMEFORNT. Okay, then there's, let's see, where am I? Oh yeah, the Spanish part, the family to family. There is a Spanish speaking community for that. There's also one for education, and there's also one for the peers. It's Persona de NAMI, NAMI Connection. And there's also, for this issue that came down Thursday night, this is what it makes NAMI so wonderful is we'll never get to hear the people who have mental health diagnosis. We never get to hear their voice. We never are offered an opportunity for them to even be heard. And there's a program in NAMI called Ending the Silence. That is an opportunity for the people to be trained to do programs in the community where that they talk about mental health issues, and it's out there so that the public can really have access to it. The NAMI Parents and Teachers as Allies, of course, that is for the parents and teachers in schools and stuff. I mentioned that. And so that's a real close look at all the programs for NAMI right now. One of the biggest things about NAMI is we're the largest grassroots organization to build better lives for people affected by mental illness. NAMI advocates access to services, treatment, supports, and research is steadfast in its commitment to raising awareness and building a community of hope for all of those in need. The question is, why is it important to address the issues of mental health in youth? 1 in 5 youth, 13 to 18 in the U.S. experience a mental health condition in any given year. 50% of all lifetime cases of mental illness begin at age 14 and 75% by 24. 50% of the students ages 14 plus have a mental health condition and will drop out of school. 70% of the youth in state juvenile justice systems have a mental condition. 70% of our children who are in the juvenile justice system have a diagnosis.
Wow, that's a lot.
So NAMI is about doing awareness, and most often in the school curriculums, I mean, this is something that should be in the school curriculums. Louisiana as a state should have something in the school system to kind of help with those problems.
Like counselors who are trained to deal with people with mental conditions, right then?
Exactly.
That would be great, you know? If you're one of the teachers or one of the government officials or that from Lafayette who are watching this might be something to look into, because you're like y'all know what happens in the schools, you know. So you know that might, with this information, you might be able to address the problem if you have trained people to recognize people and talk to kids that have mental problems, and that might not nip something in the bud.
Well, you know, guidance counselors has a big job in the school system, and it would be very forthcoming if those guidance counselors could have some kind of mental health training. I'm going to move on to this is a real important thing, and I'm just going to kind of slightly touch on it. In the African American community, you know, we have people who have attended our support group. We still do have African American. We have a young man that comes to the NAMI Connection support group. We have a guy who was trained to be a support group facilitator here who comes from the African American community. And we want to reach out to that community to let them know that the families and the individuals do not have to suffer in silence. They're welcome to these NAMI programs. They're welcome to that connection support group. They're welcome to that family-to-family support group. So we want to really bring some information and highlight that as a fact in the community, that NAMI is willing to help the community address is our African American community mental health system. Also, one of the things that we had touched on is co-occurring disorder or dual diagnosis. For those that don't understand what that is, it's a term used to describe people with mental illness who have problems with drugs or alcohol. The relationship between the two is complex, and the treatment of people with co-occurring substance abuse or dependence and mental illness is more complicated than the treatment of either one of those conditions alone. This is unfortunately a common situation. Many people with mental illnesses have ongoing substance abuse problems and many people who abuse drugs and alcohol also experience mental illness. The relationship between mental illness and substance abuse dependency is complex. It is a form of self-medication. Unfortunately, while drugs and alcohol may feel good in the moment, the abuse of these substances does not treat the underlying condition, and almost without exception makes it worse.
Yes.
Makes your mental health worse. So that is some of the information that I felt like that I wanted to try to share with you guys in the community. I know it's kind of hurriedly and really put out there in that form, but it's important that people start listening and paying attention to the mental health in their community.
Yeah, because things are getting out of hand now. You know.
Evidence of that was the shooting.
Yeah.
You know, and that guy wasn't even from here. But to say it was out of hand, yes, it was out of hand.
It's out of hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nellie, would you like that? Let's hear what Nellie has to say.
All right.
Oh, all right, great.
Go ahead.
Hi, hello everyone.
About trauma and all that.
Exactly, yes. I started a segment, a little series a while back on dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder. For myself, actually, it's been a journey of discovery, and I was looking for ways to minimize whenever I had spells from the post-traumatic stress disorder, looking for ways to combat the stress, the triggers that brings it on, just little things, anything I could do. And I found that there are very many things I can do. And one of them that has been the biggest exciting journey for me is keeping a journal. And looking back into my journal and seeing, this has been ongoing for about 6 months now. And so when I first started, I was having I call them spells, and any little noise might set it off. It might be a word. Somebody might just say the word firecracker, or it might be a motorcycle. I mean, it's just that part of your brain that's damaged, and it's not something, a lot of times people say, oh, well, you just need to get over it, and that's not how it works. There's a part of your brain that has been traumatized and even injured, possibly, and is not functioning correctly. So it's like any other body part that has been injured. So when you're under stress, it has been proven and that all of the hormones that make you move, like cortisol and different hormones that you need at the time to move out of the way if you're in danger, or to move, that if these are continuously flushed through the body on a continuous basis with stress, that it's very harmful to the body. It's harmful to the muscles, it's harmful to the heart. And so people who have a lot of mental trauma and trials tend to stay underneath a lot of stress, more than other people. Don't y'all agree?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Continuous. I mean,
it stays with them.
Exactly.
I was in an incident recently where I'm going through all this and learning the tools one by one, and it's a whole new experience for me, and I'm hoping that this will help those who were affected by the incident last week. I'm hoping the hospitals can improve on this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anything that we can do to aid our body to come out of they call it the flight.
Fight or flight.
Yeah.
Exactly, syndrome. And so when you're in this, your body is awash in all of these hormones and these chemicals that get you up and get you moving. Your heart starts pumping faster, your blood pressure rises. But when it's over with, you need to be able to, come down accordingly and then adjust, and your blood pressure needs to. Well, very many people continuously, stay under this sort of stress mode. And if you can imagine, it's sort of like just slamming your accelerator, putting your car in park, and just keeping the accelerator going, and not letting up. What's going to happen is your adrenals and a lot of things are going, your heart muscle and everything is continuously. Your body was not meant to stay in this mode. It was only there to protect you and get you up and moving. And so when I started studying, and you know, I mean, I was going like 3 days with just anxiety and panic and continuous. I couldn't sleep, and any little thing, the triggers would set it off.
Yep.
And so I said, okay, you know, I've got to do something. So I started researching. I started trying different things. And it's working, because now, instead of like, you know, something setting me off the way it would before and put me in what I call a cycle of panic and, you know, having to go into a quiet space and just really just taking myself out of the world. Now I'm really dealing with it much better, and my journal has become like one of my go-tos. If I feel myself starting to cycle in any way that doesn't feel good, you know, that's my main goal, is to feel good, and help other people feel good, and like that's my main goal. So anything I can do, and there are some practices that I want to share with you tonight. The ones that have helped me the most, and hopefully they're gonna. If you use them, it's sort of like you may not think about it right at the moment, because that's when you need these tools the most, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes on you, it's too late.
It's kind of like watching a TV show that you don't like. You change the channel, and it changes your focus.
Your focus.
Yeah.
And so get yourself, you know, go to the dollar store, get yourself a little notebook, and make that yours, and write these down. Research, find things to do, because you know, if you don't have it in your hand, when everything starts triggering, you're just going to go back in those same old cycles. And it takes some practice. It took me a while to remember, go get my notebook, go get my water. Immediately I'll go and I get a glass of water, and I put my hand over the water, and I say, thank you for this water that's going to nourish my body, my brain, my mind, my spirit, my soul. And I just take a little sip. Sometimes I get ice cubes, you know, because the chomping a little bit on the ice cubes don't break a tooth or anything, but, you know, just gently kind of anything you can do to switch that mode and get your body in away from the stress hormones that are going to come in, because you know how detrimental those are if you don't have to have those at that moment, because, you know, it's been shown that your body cannot heal and be under stress at the same time. Yeah. It just cannot do those two things. So wouldn't you choose goodness for yourself? Wouldn't you say, okay, I'm going to go get my journal, get my water, you know, take a sip of the water. The one that I like a lot is that, because post-traumatic stress disorder, when you're continuously under this, you know, you're going to be fatigued, you're going to be exhausted. And especially right after trauma, you know, like Richard, he's gone through that because he's, you know, just had some trauma and big time involved too. And so they're tireder. So your breathing is so important, because as you're, you know, you're under the trauma, and it's continuous for a while, especially after when it's fresh, your breathing, okay, is too heavy, and it takes a lot of your energy, and you're not getting pure oxygen. You're getting what? Carbon monoxide, that other one that's not so great for you, right?
Carbon dioxide,
so if you're breathing too fast, you know, you're not getting a good mix of oxygen. So a good one to remember is just breathe through your heart wall. You can literally take your hands and put it over your heart, and just concentrate that your breath is going to go through that heart, right? That heart wall. And you see automatically that when you have to concentrate on that, that's a really great one. That immediately will flush you with a nice relaxed feeling. It'll give you more oxygen, and you'll get more energy immediately. It's a good way to put yourself to sleep at night. It's a great way to wake up in the morning to remind yourself. And the more that you can do these things and keep your journal with you, practice makes perfect. You're not going to, you know, remember, but if you have your journal, you're not going to forget. So
yeah, I'd like to add, like being an athlete, when I'm going into competition and I'm going to lift a lot of weights that I can't really do, Nellie told me to think about it and concentrate on it, and sometimes I can lift it. That's just goes to show you the mind is a powerful weapon. So if, like Nellie says, if you think about these things, like concentrate on your heart and you're breathing, it works.
Right.
I wanted to interject too. I used to concentrate too hard on computer work, and my breathing would get shallow. I would hunch over.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, the headache, the stress. I'm learning to recognize, to take a break, 45, 60 minutes, get up, get out of the room,
Yeah.
do something totally different, focus the eyes away, like to the sky or a wall.
Right.
'Cause
And that's
when-
important too, is not to wait too long in between.
Oh, yeah.
It's better to take, every once in a while, as often as you can, as frequently as you
Yeah.
can, every little bit, every once in a while, remind yourself and have something, that can remind you.
Good time.
And the other one that I really like is, this is really good if you have a headache or if for anything, but basically if you're really feeling that stress, is that you imagine yourself sitting, that you have your own personal rainbow and only the colors are there for you. God made those colors for you, or whatever works for you. Sit on top of the rainbow, swing your legs. You got to have some fun. You got to make things fun and playful sometimes. And swing your legs back and forth, or just sit there cross-legged and say, okay, I'm going to look down and check my colors in my rainbow. And look down, and a lot of times I'll look at mine, and I guess it's my body's way of telling me I'm not doing so good right now. So my colors might be a little muddy in my mind. I might be depressed or feeling sad. So I play with those colors. I basically take colors and color it in and make it bright. That's a good one too. That's a really good playful one that will bring joy into your heart. And you deserve that. And the other one that's really good is you can clap your hands like this. And you rub your hands. If you want to try that, like if you just clap your hands like this and you rub,
It changes your frame of mind.
do you feel how you feel
The
a
warm.
warm rush?
Yeah.
And then all of a
Right.
sudden your cheeks will pink and you kind of get a little goosebumpy. And you can do that, if you're out and you don't want to do that, you can think about it, because they've shown that just thinking about things like that actually creates the physical effect in your body. Like athletes at night will just imagine that they're doing like their reps and stuff, and they've actually shown that works.
That works, yeah.
The other thing is, what I use is some chamomile tea. That's wonderful.
Oh,
And
yes.
you can sip chamomile, and it's very gentle. Especially before you go to bed at night, or you can throw it in your bath water.
Oh, yes.
We use it all the time, and it's really good for your hair. It's really good for your skin. The other thing is, think about water flowing through a colander, and that way you're thinking, okay, I know that if I soak up this stress in my body like a sponge, it's going to harm me, right? If I keep up too long. So, stress is not really a bad thing. It's just that we've been taught to use it wrong. If you can turn around and use it as an energy, stress is your way of really kind of telling you, well, you're kind of on the wrong path. So, it's okay. It's okay to feel it. Don't be afraid of it. If you feel it, pay attention and say, okay, I acknowledge that. Go ahead and acknowledge that you have. Don't try to run away from your emotions, because I've learned that's the worst thing you can do, because our emotions are there for a reason. All of them are there for a reason. It's how you react to them, to use them. So imagine that the water's flowing through the colander, and you're not a sponge soaking up all of that. And those are some of the things that I wanted to share with y'all. I'm just going to read a little bit very quickly, and I'm going to turn it back over to Bob and them. But this is Michelle Rosenthal, and I've been kind of following her a little bit. She's talking about post-traumatic stress disorder and fatigue, and talking about you've got the depression, you've got so much stress, your body can't handle it. What can you do? Well, we've talked about those things, and I hope that you'll try to utilize some of those and think up some ones of your own and incorporate those. But make sure that you have your journal, and because here she says the adrenal system processes stress hormones, including cortisol. When there's an overload of the adrenal system, a survivor might experience a variety of symptoms such as fatigue, exhaustion, and an overload of stress. and the symptoms can't be denied. Adrenal overload can actually be identified through a blood test. So that fatigue is real. That fatigue that you're experiencing because of this continual stress on your body, creates acid in your muscles, and it's like you working 18-hour days, and then you're under so much stress that we've learned that in your last stage of sleep, that's when your muscles repair themselves, right? So if you're not sleeping well, you're not going into that last stage of sleep. You've got that whole day, that you're fatigued, you're chronically exhausted, plus you're not getting restorative sleep for your muscles. So it's going to, bring a really big toll on your body. So those are just some of the things that I wanted to share with everybody today.
Question.
Yes.
We're being so inundated electronically with our phones, our computers and all that. I came across something the other day in one of the computer journals that the stress level in the office place has just gone off the charts. We're bombarded, even away from the workplace. Somebody texts, somebody calls, and I'm finding there are times when I just have to turn this thing off, go walk the dog, do something, because the bombardment is just getting intense.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize until this week how much there was of that.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to learn to take that little space and do something else, non-electronic. And it's for those who have computer jobs and are techs, they're working 80-hour weeks.
Yeah.
I saw a picture where they had a Tylenol bottle and they're eating that stuff like candy.
Yeah.
Going home, getting 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next thing you know, they're crashing and burning.
Yeah, you got to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go back to Denver. Okay.
NAMI is doing everything that it possibly can, and I'm going to give you a list of people that we are really trying to reach out to try to bring them into the mental health education side of things, and it's not limited. It's unreal at the people that could be and have an opportunity to do more about mental health. And this is some of the stuff that goes with the provider education program that I mentioned a while ago. It targets clinic receptionists, mobile crisis workers, guidance counselors. We mentioned guidance counselors for school, public defenders, teachers, group home workers, helpline staff, alcohol and drug agencies, peer support specialists, police officers, nurses, behavioral health care providers, social workers, shelter workers, especially those that work in domestic violence, and many others. So if you really want to try to get into and learn some things about mental health, that's called the NAMI Provider Education Program. So it's for just about any type of person that would be even interested in trying to get some training. So we want those groups to step up to the plate if they may and do exactly that, because like we said, when you're working with 20% of the population, those groups are going to touch base with someone with a mental health issue nearly every day. For whatever reason, there's always going to be someone there that's going to have a mental health issue that works with you or goes to school with you and all that. And so it's a good thing to be able to be aware of that very thing, knowing what to do when it comes to mental health. There's a lot of services and supports out there that in some areas it's lacking, and the areas that are lacking the most is prevention and outreach, screening, assessment, and evaluation. There's no effective individual group or family therapies. There's integrated mental health addictions and primary care. There's medications. There's case management and care coordination. There's peer and caregiver education and support services. There should be intensive outpatient services. These are all the things that are missing. Yeah. Employment and education supports, housing with supportive services, skill building and socialization services, daily living and personal care services. The ACT, the Assertive Community Treatment Program in Louisiana, one of the things that happens with those of us with mental health diagnoses as our primary diagnosis, to be able to get to an assertive community treatment program in Louisiana is very, very difficult. Yeah. There's jail diversion and reentry services, there's crisis intervention and stabilization, and of course, there's always going to be a need for hospitalization and residential care. Louisiana is really involved. It might seem like we're not very visible, but we are very, very involved. And I'm on the state board in Baton Rouge, and so we have legislative priorities also that we are trying to bring into the public eye so that people are more aware of what's going on. And the biggest thing is the access to treatment and services. There was a little situation that happened at the hospital during the time some of the victims were being brought into one of the hospitals, and a person was in the emergency room who had attempted suicide and went into the hospital, and the triage nurse spoke to that person and said, well, why didn't you go to Joseph Tyler Mental Health to get help? And everybody in the community knows that Joseph Tyler is just a clinic. It's open 5 days a week. There is no place there for emergency services, and that's one of the things that has come down through the rank and file with this thing with Jindal. When he closed our charity hospitals, these people who were already living in the poverty level in the area and stuff, that was the only place they could go if they were homicidal or getting ready to commit suicide. That's where they went. And since that's been changed now into a private system, the thing that I just mentioned is one of those problems that comes out of the privatization even of hospitals.
Why would Jindal do that? That's pretty dumb. I mean, that's like, you don't care about the people, you know?
Well,
but I'll just put my part, you know, that is a horrible thing to do to the people of Louisiana that are in poverty and that are hurting, you know?
Yeah.
So it looks like there needs to be more provider education, especially in the hospital ERs. I saw a lot of confusion myself where I was at that night, that Thursday night. But I did see some counselors being brought in, but what I'm wondering about, what's being done to get more awareness, and what's being done for the stress levels of all the police, fire, EMT workers. Do you want to address that?
Well, it's education. The biggest thing about mental health that is missing, the piece that is missing the most, is education. When a person gets a diagnosis and gets put on medication, they take the doctor at his word that that's what's wrong with them and that all they need to do is take the medicine and they'll be okay. Well, that's not necessarily true. If anything, it's not true at all, because if a person doesn't take the time to learn what that diagnosis is, what it means, how it affects them, and how the medication works, and what are those side effects of those medications, they really can't do a very good job of self-care. And that education, of course, goes on up to all of the people that I just mentioned as far as the provider education piece. They all need an education on mental health from that grassroots perspective. This is one of the things that I've always spoken about. And the United States of America, in some research that I've just done, we're the worst country in the world for addressing mental health. We're at the bottom of the list. And guess where Louisiana falls? We're 47th out of 51.
Wow.
So if you think the shooting and the tragedy that went on over at the hospital and stuff, it speaks volumes when a state is ranked so low in addressing mental health. 47th out of 51.
And I would like to say, we're coming up with the governor's election, and maybe, hopefully, if you see a governor that's promoting mental health, unlike the last one, maybe y'all will vote for him, and maybe things in Louisiana will be a lot better. Who cares about the people? A governor who cares about the people.
Yeah, going back to the legislative priorities, these are the things that we're trying to do as NAMI. We're trying to strengthen the array of services offered across the continuum for children, young adults, and adults. We're trying to expand access to crisis response and stabilization services. That is a very, very important thing, crisis response.
What is that? Say that again?
It's expand the access to crisis response and stabilization of services. In other words, say for instance, instead of the people being shot the way they were in the thing that happened Thursday night, say for instance that 9 people showed up at the emergency room trying to commit suicide or have been in the process of trying to commit homicide. The services in the hospital would not be able to respond or even stabilize that situation.
Okay.
The other thing that we're trying to do is implement services and supports that facilitate recovery in the community. I think it's really important at this point that the community needs to know that everyone who has a physical health issue can recover to some point in their life, but they'll never be well. So the recovery process is an ongoing process. In any physical health issue, it is a recovery process. You'll never be well, and that's the thing about mental health. That's a big misconception. People think if you get a diagnosis and you take medicine and you get to feeling good, you can get off your medicine. Well, guess what? That does not work. And so recovery is an ongoing process. We're trying to support the initiatives that strengthen the mental health system and promote accountability in both the public and private sectors.
Yes.
Bob, I'm pretty well covered a lot of stuff again tonight. Hopefully people will respond in the community. Y'all call Bob and Richard. I think y'all have our number. Miss Rosalind's number is 849-6765. She's the family member person. And I am in charge of the folks who have a mental health diagnosis, and I will say...
And also Emily Welch.
And Emily Welch, yes, you can contact Emily Welch. I will also say that there has been an outcry of people who have called me about the tragedy, and I pray that that's one thing that will continue to speak volumes in this community, is that people will really stand up for this thing about trying to help the people in the mental health community to participate in life as best and as independently as they can.
Contact your senator and representative for funding for mental health services. Cannot stress that enough. I don't know what's available, but maybe there's some mechanism to bring in some emergency funding. I'm just learning all this, but a lot of folks, I know people have been affected by this personally. 2 of my friends lost friends in the shootings, and this is the time to get our legislative body aware.
Yes.
While they are thinking about, I mean, we're getting on the national news.
It's right, and then our senators and stuff at the national level, they definitely need to step up to the plate. Because if they won't look out for us at the national level, how can they expect the people at the local level to do it? If none of those groups are participating when it comes to what's going on with mental health, that will never change.
Well, a lot of this went on after Hurricane Katrina and Rita.
Yeah.
I'm kind of have memories about that experience.
Yeah.
Compared to what I went through personally, and I'm hoping this community can build on that, and that the people I'm talking to this week, next week, will start assimilating this.
Well, when Katrina happened, Dr. Dan Fisher brought a group of people in to meet with the mental health community and talk to them about the disaster. And this shooting is a disaster.
Yeah.
And if the community is not able to step up to the plate to try to figure out a way to try to keep these kind of things from happening in their community. Even though he was not from here, it's the same thing if it would have been one of us in this community who had gotten to that point.
Yeah.
Nobody would know what to do, and it's time that that comes to a place where that it's addressed. It needs to be addressed.
And I would like to say, I've been living in Lafayette for over 10 years. I'm from St. Martinville originally, as my buddies from St. Martinville know. I would like to say that Lafayette is a class act city. It is a really good, South Louisiana is a great place to live. Lafayette is a great town, and Lafayette is a strong town with strong people and noble people in this town, and it's going to get better, and Lafayette will heal, you know.
Yes.
I mean, you got some great things to do. You got Red Laurel's, man. I go to Red's all the time. It's right next to the theater. Red's is great. You got great restaurants. You got nice people. You got it is a wealthy area. You got buildings all, and the people are really, really nice. And most of them are very caring. So I would like to say kudos to Lafayette. And that we will recover from this because of the strength, and also the God-fearing people, you know, the Christian people that live, of the Catholics, the Protestants, and the people, and I know we will recover because of our God-based faith and everything like that. And I would like to say also a special thanks to Ed Bowie. Ed Bowie,
Yes.
who is the director of AOC. The people at AOC are the nicest people. Jacob White, William McFarland, Deborah, Nancy, Skip, Joe. I think I got them all. If I did, I don't know. Pop. But, you know, nice people that'll help you with anything you want to do at AOC. You know, and I would like to say also a special thanks to Miss Jackie Ballou,
Yes.
who has been a jewel of an angel to me, and Richard and our group, all our group, Nellie, Brandon, Nellie's son couldn't make it. We wish him well.
Sure.
Nellie, you would like to add anything?
You want me to sing a song?
Yeah, sing a song. That's great.
Okay.
2 minutes.
Y'all can sing too. We can sing. Your part is how can I keep from singing?
Okay.
Okay? My life goes on an endless song. Above us, lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails the new creation. Through all the turmoil and the strife, I hear its music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? No storm can shake my innermost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging, since love is all of heaven and earth. How can I keep from singing? How can I keep from singing?
You got another song?
Sure. Let's see. I'll sing. Beautiful dreamer, wake unto me. Starlight and dewdrop are waiting for thee. Sounds of the rude world heard in the day, lulled by the moonlight, have all passed away. Beautiful dreamer, queen of my song, list while I woo thee with soft melody. Then shall the cares of this world depart. Beautiful dreamer, awake unto me. Beautiful dreamer,
Thank you, Nellie.
Thank you.
I would like to say to people that like I have gone through the ropes. You know, we all have a story, and y'all know my story. And I would like to say one of the things that has helped me the most is my faith in Jesus Christ. And if you might want to call him God or your higher power, just ask him if you're by yourself to help you in everything. If you don't believe him, ask him to prove to you that he's real, and he most certainly will, I guarantee. And ask him to help you, and you will be on your way to new life.
Chico State Park, August the 14th through the 16th is a men's interdenominational retreat. Please come, guys.
Mike Fuselier, our buddy is going to lead it. We wish y'all well. We hope y'all enjoyed the show. We give y'all God bless. We thank y'all. God is good.
We'd like to thank Denver and everyone from NAMI for all their hard work.
God, we
They
thank
worked
you.
really, really hard, and